it's Laura here. I'm back. So I'm here to do another video. So this is a video that's kind of going to talk through my favorite underrated series. Now this is just my own opinion. These are series that I don't hear getting enough love. It may just be that, they came out a bit ago, but I don't think they ever got enough hype, and I just want to give them a little bit of a shout out. I actually, when I was making this list, I realized that one series in this I have not actually finished. So I'm gonna make that a goal before the end of 2021 because I really remember enjoying it, and then I just never finished it. So that is going to be a goal for myself. And when we get to that series, I will chat about it. But the first series that we're going to chat about is actually a series that I just finished like 2 days ago, and that is the Potion Diaries series by Amy Alwyn. Sometimes people struggle to get into fantasy, and it's like you think it's going to be complicated world and really, really complicated world building. This series is not that. This series is such a light-hearted fantasy read, but basically the first book starts off with a main character named Sam, and she's an alchemist in this little town, and her best friend is the princess, and her best friend is being pressured to basically be married. So she winds up making a love potion where she falls in love with herself, and then Sam has to go on an adventure as an alchemist to kind of create this potion that saves her best friend. And there's 3 books in the series. There's Potion Diaries, Royal Tour, and then Going Viral. And I just finished Going Viral. Every book is a little bit different, but it's just such a fun series. I remember reading the first 2 pretty close together. I read this one recently, but they're just really, really fun. It's a very, very light-hearted story. I will admit the 3rd book in this series does have some harder issues. There is a pandemic in this book, I will say that. And there is some class war stuff, but I really enjoyed the series. It was very, very fun, very, very lighthearted. I really like Sam as a main character, and I like the magic element of have some people that were talented and some people were talentless, but it was really important that Sam couldn't be an alchemist if she was a talented, because it made your magic work not the way it was supposed to. I really like the series. I went up giving it 4 stars. They did say there was eventually going to be a 4th book, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But I thought it was a solid conclusion with strong characters, and also towards the end, an LGBTQ elements that I really wound up enjoying. But yeah, this was actually a really, really fun series, and I just wanted to give it a shout out because I don't hear anyone talking about it anymore anyway. Is a series that I have really enjoyed, and there's actually sort of 2 by this author that I'm going to talk about. The author is Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and the series that I want to focus on is the Natural series by her. Here's a picture of book 1. So Jennifer Lynn Barnes series are all a little bit different, and I really like them all. I'm going to talk about her Fixer series next. But this series basically follows these kids that are basically geniuses in some senses, and there is a team of 5 of them, and they all work together to solve crimes. And the main character, I think her name is Cassie. It's been a bit since I read the series. She is kind of dealing with the aftermath of her mother's death, and her mother's death kind of connects to their first case, and then they all sort of work together. It's a very, very tightly wound mystery. And it's a series that I definitely do want to reread in the future, just a little bit closer together, because I had to wait a couple of years between books, and the story was so tightly wound that I think by the end of that series I got a little bit it was a little bit less connected because it's been so long. But I definitely recommend it. She's a great writer. I also think she's a trained psychologist, so a lot of her stories have a psychological twist. Her Fixer series definitely did, which I'm going to talk about next, and also her debutante series also had a psychology twist, which I really, really enjoyed. But yeah, so that's why I really recommend this series. Definitely a little bit on the darker side, but also on the realistic side. So I felt it's not like a Pretty Little Liars, because I felt like it's a lot more realistic than those books. Just a little bit darker, and it does deal with the FBI, which I found was an interesting hook to grab my attention. We're going to chat about, or the next series I guess that I do recommend, is the Fixer series, which is also by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So sad that this series got we were supposed to get 3 books in this series, and it only wound up being a duology. But it basically follows this girl. I, for the life of me, cannot remember her name because it's been so long. But her sister is a fixer in Washington, D.C., and she has to go live with her sister after something happens to her grandfather. And when she goes there, she starts uncovering more secrets about her past, but also she becomes the fixer for the kids in her high school prep school. And it was really, really interesting. Very, very compelling. I really liked the Washington, D.C. as like a backdrop. It was another super fast paced series. I really enjoyed it. Book 2 ended on such a cliffhanger, and I'm so bummed that we won't be getting a book 3, but I still do think the series is worth the read. Just go in with the expectation that it's going to leave you on a pretty big cliffhanger and we're not getting any more books. But I thought it was a really fun place to set a YA series, and there was a lot of drama in that series as well. And then also a small shout out to her debutante series, which was super fun. I really, really liked it as well, and that came out recently. And the next book series that we're going to talk about is the one that I still have not finished, but I did read about 3 books in this series, and that is the Clockwork Scarab series by Colleen Gleason. Here's a picture of book 1. Book was coming out, there were a lot of like Sherlock Holmes adaptations. There was the Study in Charlotte series. There was a lot of series coming out. And I just thought that this series had sort of like a unique premise. It was set in the past, and it followed the niece of Sherlock Holmes and the sister of Bram Stoker, and they kind of work together to like solve crimes. There was also a time traveling element in the second book, or the first and second book in the series, which was just really unique and super different. I read the first 3. There's 5 books out. I think I'm gonna probably have to reread book 3, because I don't remember what happened to that in that book at all. I'll probably get it on audio and just like listen to them. But I really, really remember liking the series. Thought it was super unique and really, really different. And I think that was like the first book series that really caught my interest and made me consider to read more like historical fiction stuff, because it had a mystery element to it, which is something that I do like in my historical fiction. But it also just was a really, really fun read, and such interesting like cases for the first 3. So I'm hopeful that I can read more, like complete that series this year and check out maybe some of her backlist. I know most of her backlist is sort of adult, but I am intrigued enough to could give them a shot in the future. The last adult series that I'm going to chat about in this video is a little bit of a cheat, because it's more of like a companion bunch. But all the Morgan Matson books, I don't know if you guys are aware, they're all like somewhat connected in some way, because they all take place in this small town. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those, and just make sure that if you haven't read them all, you should definitely catch up on them, because you do see characters in other books, and I think that that's just a cool writing element that she does. So here are a couple pictures of the books that she has written. I just really like her writing style. She's actually finally coming out with a new book, which I'm definitely getting, and I'm really excited for that one. I pre-ordered it and everything. It's set in New York City, and I live in New York, so I'm really excited for that one as well. But I think my favorite out of her all books is The Unexpected Everything, which follows a girl named Andy and this boy who's a writer, and it's just adorable. I also really like Since You've Been Gone, which involves a list, and Save the Date, which is a 3-day story set at a wedding with a young girl and a wedding planner. They're all super fun, and then they also sort of all like tie together. There's like character cameos and stuff like that. It's just so fun. Like, she writes such fun, witty contemporaries that always sort of deal with like a harder issue in them. I wouldn't say she's as intense as like Katie McGarry. I also wouldn't say she's as fluffy as Casey West. I think that there's a nice balance in her writing, and I really, really enjoy it. I'm so bummed that we're not gonna have like in-person events, because the last time she had a book coming out, I got it signed from her. It was right around BEA time. It was so much fun. So I don't think that's gonna happen this year unless things are drastically different in New York by then. But yeah, so those are my top 5 young adult series that I think are underrated, that I think you should check out. If you guys want me to do a middle grade one, please let me know in the comments, and I'll be sure to do that. And thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys are staying safe and being well. Bye.